Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of From Sad Pick Me Girl to Alchemist. Today, I am very excited to have Ellen Wier here to speak about her experience. She had a near-death experience, and she will talk a little bit more about that. But her story has just really helped shape my faith or change my faith, as I'd mentioned in previous episodes. And I wanted to bring that to you guys so that you can gain your perspective on it as well. So, Ellen, if
Yeah,
you want to dive in and talk a little bit about what you went through and how it's helped shape your life, that would be amazing.
absolutely. I'm so glad to be here, Denise. Thank you so much. I'm happy to share what happened with my near-death experience and how it continues to shape my life. I mean, I have used the wisdom from that experience and everything that I've gone through. So I'll tell you a little bit about what happened. I was 12 years old. I was an avid horseback rider. I was kicked in the head by a horse, and I was in a coma for about 5 days. At the time, I was sent to an ICU in the Dallas hospital area from one hospital to another, and the team encouraged my parents to play movies at my bedside. They were like, "There's really nothing we can do for her, but if you play movies, you might get through. I mean, it wouldn't hurt." So my dad brought in some of my favorite childhood movies, played them at my bedside on one of those rolly carts. This is the late 80s. And and I don't remember anything of that, but I do remember being on the other side. I started on a raft of sorts. It was kind of these giant logs in a weird way, wooden with pink clouds on each side. And there was Jesus in front of me, and there was a man to my left. He had long brown robes. He was thin and bald and had bare feet. And I didn't know who he was, but I felt really safe and protected. And I was pulled out of that experience into another light realm of white, bright white light and music that I never heard before, and all these multicolored streams and trees, all these different
Wow.
colors, like pinks and everything. Just you would not see that here. And I felt very connected. I loved the music. The music was ethereal. It was otherworldly. It was, I guess, like I felt transfixed by it in a way. And then the real heart of the experience, though, was when I was lifted from that realm into the golden light realm. And that is the heart of my experience and what I always talk about, and what I always come back to, and what I channel when I work with other people. That's where the truth in the heart of this experience was. It was this fullness, it was this weight, it was unconditional love. I feel it. I can close my eyes and I am there. It is this consciousness, this all knowing, all loving. There was no name for it. There was no one way to get there. There was no consciousness. There was no language. It wasn't needed. Everything was known. And I felt so whole and connected. And I
Yeah.
just felt completely whole. And I could have been there for a lifetime, or I don't even know. There was no time. But I was pulled back to the raft. And in that experience, I started to realize that Jesus was communicating with me through his thoughts, and I could hear it was very simple. Would you like to stay here, or would you
Mm.
like to go back to earth? And I get really emotional because I wasn't like this human child making this choice. I was a soul making this choice, and there was no right or wrong. I could have chosen either way, and it would have been okay. It was very clear to me there was no right or wrong, and I wanted to stay initially. I wanted to stay in that place because I felt like it was more real than this is. And in that moment, I was shown the trajectory of my father's life. It wasn't meant to influence me. And I want to make that clear. I was just given information, and I knew that he wouldn't actualize his path on this planet if I chose to stay in that realm. It would still autocorrect. Everything would,
Mhm.
um, but that was the message I got. And I was also given all of this information about why we're here, why now. I chose to live. My soul chose to live. And in that moment, I was just flooded with all of this knowing that we create our reality, that most of what we think about doesn't matter, that it takes us away from the light of who we are, that people matter, right? People
Yeah.
matter. And I had all of this knowing, and I was so grateful. I was like, I get to live. This is a gift. Not every soul gets this. This is the master course. Earth is the
Yeah.
master class. This is the like doctorate of soul school. And I was so grateful that I made a vow right then. And I vowed I will come back and I will heal people with music. I don't know where it came from, but that was it. And then
Yeah.
another follow-up vow before the real magic happened, where I wanted to give thanks for every experience on this planet. And that's something I want to talk about because I knew it would not be easy. I was told so many things on the other side. I knew that my grandmother would pass when I got back.
Oh, wow.
Um, I knew that this embodiment was not necessarily going to be easy at times.
Hmm.
And I also knew the gift of it. And I knew that gratitude was what I was vowing, like to give thanks every day, every night when I go to sleep for every single experience. And I remember that now. And I come back to that now in the hard times. And then everything went dark and I saw this staff of music in the distance and I followed the notes. They were all different colors, like a different color for every note. And I watched it as it got closer to me. And then the whole music staff just came right through me. And then I heard this little pinprick of sound. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was connecting to the music of the movie that my father had put on at my bedside. That it was like
Oh my
classical
gosh.
music. It was Tchaikovsky. It was part of a Disney movie that was like 90% classical music and not even a lot of language in it. A little bit, but not a lot. And I focused so hard on that sound. It was like down and to the right. That's what I know. It's like tiny pinprick. And I just almost couldn't hear it, but I focused so intently on every ounce of my being until it became so loud in my head that in order to escape the pain of the volume of it, it went from nothing to like, I needed to like force my eyes open. And I was in the ICU and the nurse came over and I slipped back out of consciousness, but I wasn't in the coma anymore. And that's how I woke up. I woke up to the music.
It's amazing that you know distinctly where it was, the bottom
Yeah.
right. I have so many questions, but I want to start with how does this shape? I know you said that this is a doctorate, right? Of like
Yeah.
souls. How does this shape the way that you live and the way that you deal with
Yeah.
challenges? Because I think as I shared with my story, I mentioned to you, it's been difficult for me. And now that I'm finding purpose, I'm becoming more aware of why we're here. But I think some people you can live a life where you don't feel fulfilled. And if you don't do anything about it, that could be the entirety of your life if you don't take control. So I'm just
Yeah.
wondering how you navigate that and how you also teach that to others. Because I know that's something that you do
Oh,
as
it
well.
is it is everything. It is the barometer in which I live my life. If things don't align with the energy of the other side, I let them go. I don't follow them. Sorry, when I yawn, sometimes I'm releasing energy actually.
Oh, no
But
worries. I figured. I always know like yawning
yeah,
and
like I do
yeah.
energy work and I'm
Hmm.
like releasing energy. So first of all, I know that everything has meaning.
Yeah.
Everything that we go through, even though we don't know it at the time, like everything that we experience has an opportunity for us to become closer to our God self, to our higher self, to our I am, to our divine self, whatever you want to call it. And I think that is the purpose for me is to use every opportunity to become closer to that.
Hmm.
And it it's like that was more real than this, you know? We're
Right.
here for a reason. If you're here, you still have purpose, you still have meaning. You can co-create.
Hmm.
I'm moving into co-creative and manifesting work a lot now because that came through to me on the other side. One of my clients is a powerful manifestor named Jack Canfield. He wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. He helped with the book The Secret. I studied with him for years and then also have been receiving these downloads about how we co-create, very much based in the work of Neville Goddard and how our subconscious. So remember, like, our subconscious is the thing that directs our life. And when we are not in touch with that and we try to create action in our outer self, yes, it can work, but the subconscious is really what we're working from, our inner
Hmm.
belief. what we allow ourselves to believe, the thoughts that we discern, that we allow. So, my main teaching for people is to move out of the thinking mind, get out of the story, go into the place before the story when you didn't attach to your old wounds or your upbringing or your conditioning on this planet, and you knew that everything and anything is possible. Every single thing that has happened on this planet has come through the thought of of everything that's been created, invented. It was first a thought, right? So
Right.
I like people to know that. And first, I take them out of their body using music because I have a way to channel the energy from the other side, bring wisdom through. I play brainwave and I use brainwave entrainment where I use two very similar tones at the same frequency on crystal bowls to help people lift out of their body and go to the other side and talk to guides and angels and loved ones past sometimes to receive and their higher self to receive information for themselves to come back to this planet and then co-create and make a better life for themselves, to shift out of the old story so the old story doesn't create the future.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and then gratitude, that's the other part. Like gratitude is the closest I've ever gotten to that feeling on the other side, that unconditional love. And it to
Mhm.
me is the most powerful access point, even when we don't believe it or feel it, to act as if everything that's happening is happening for us, that there's some nugget of wisdom, something
Mhm.
that we can pull from it. And if we did, where's the way we can hold gratitude for it? How can we learn through it? How can we give it back to the planet? How can we use it to connect to the presence of us? That's
Right.
that's kind of it for me.
Yeah, and so I know that you had mentioned too that it's helped you navigate some of the bigger life challenges and the way that you perceive them as well. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that as well?
Absolutely. I wrote about this in my book in a little bit more detail, but I came back and I healed through Lyme disease and I went through a very devastating divorce after 20 years and I found the love of my life after that and took vows with him, sacred vows, and then 2 weeks after he suffered a brain injury and his personality and our trajectory completely changed. He forgot how to love. He couldn't access love or gratitude or hope. And so during that caregiving time, I leaned on what I learned on the other side. Every single one of these experiences has been, and now I see the wisdom. You can't always see it when you're in it, right? When you're in it, it feels
Mhm.
overwhelming. It feels like it goes on forever because we have this timeline that we want, right?
Oh, yeah.
But when I got into the gratitude, so I started with the gratitude, and then I would take my higher self, like I do with my clients, take my higher self into these past experiences of pain, and I would bring my higher knowing and give myself what I needed at that time. I would go back in time through meditations. And once I did that, I started to envision this place without the story. I'd go into the golden light, or I'd go into like what Joe Dispenza calls the nothing, the void,
Mhm.
right? I'd go into the place without the story. I'd meditate there. And then I would start to envision, like, what do I want? What do I want to create? What does it look like? How can I embody that on in this other realm? And then I would imagine bringing that into the physical, bringing that into embodiment. And the more I practice this, and the more I practice like using music and meditation and releasing the thoughts that keep me stuck. Anytime I had a negative thought, I would be like, oh, it's a thought. Let it go. Let it go. Let it
Mhm.
replace it with a positive thought. Then my life started to change. I started to change. I started to be more hopeful. These are the experiences of my life that took me into the depths of places I never thought or wanted to go, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the human experience. Where can I find the gratitude? It starts there. How can I give it back? How can I take this experience and give that nugget of wisdom back to the world? And so that's also what I do. I write articles on Substack every week about downloads that I'm getting through my own life and through my clients. And it's just beautiful. And I love sharing that wisdom because we're not stuck. And a lot of
Right.
people feel like it's stuck, it's hopeless, right? Especially right now, all my clients coming in, I joke it's like everyone's living through a made for TV movie. It has purpose though. Like we're clearing the we're clearing the crud
Yeah.
because we are ascending. We are
Yeah.
all ascending to a new level of consciousness, and there is a split, there is a divide, there is something happening. And if we choose right now love over fear, every situation, we actually step into the higher expression of what our lives can be, and our soul will take us to that better life stream.
Amazing. I just 2 episodes ago, I talked about feeling stuck and choosing faith over fear, so
Yeah.
it's amazing that you're bringing that up.
Mhm.
And I also wanted to ask, you mentioned when you were on the other side, you saw a trajectory of certain events that were gonna happen as your
Mhm.
grandmother passing, and then also how
Yeah.
your father wouldn't live. I think I can't exactly remember the words you mentioned, but he wouldn't
Actualize. Yeah.
actualize. So do
Yeah.
you know, were you able to see a lot of the events that you experienced, like the divorce, or was it that detailed, or what was it like?
Mm-mm. No,
Okay.
I've gotten really into readings since then, and I'm really very skilled at that now,
Okay.
and especially for other people. But at the time, no, I didn't see what was coming, and that's part of it. It's like we're not meant to know, even through this trajectory that I've been living through, that's still unfolding with my partner going through this brain injury. It
Yeah.
has challenged us, our relationship, our dynamic in ways that neither one of us ever experienced. Even having been through a brain injury, living through it is a very different experience as a caregiver. And it
Right.
really asks you to choose love because it's confusing. There's anger, there's emotional swings, there's also confusion. There's no way to know which way to turn medically sometimes, right? But
Mhm.
there's no prognosis. Like it's going to take this long to heal a brain injury or to heal a back injury, to heal a neck injury. It doesn't, they don't, they don't tell you that. But at the same time, seeing miracles and choosing to live as if, what if I chose this? What if my soul chose this? If my soul chose this, what am I getting through this? Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. And were you able to do you know now what it meant with your father actualizing his purpose here on the have you
No, I
no.
don't.
Okay. Okay.
It could have been that part of his purpose was to play that movie. It could have been something that I don't know or understand. It could have been anything. And there's this whole idea of timelines as well, that
Mhm.
there are infinite versions of us in infinite different realities, and we elevate our own frequency to live into these higher expressions of self. So as we choose love, we raise our frequency. As we
Mhm.
choose ourselves, we raise our frequency. As we choose love to others, kindness, the loving path, faith, right? We are elevating our frequency so that we can then attract the things to us that we truly desire.
Right.
And that's a huge part of my belief in my work from the other side, that we literally are the architects of our experience, whether we know it or not. And it's learning how to tap into that. And most people need to escape the thoughts because the story is what keeps us in our cycle, in our reality. And it doesn't mean tragic things don't happen.
Yeah.
It can't always change. There's a life path where our soul has embodied to experience certain dynamics, certain relationships, certain things, and they're going to experience those things. It's just, how do we respond to it? What
Right.
what wisdom, you know?
Yeah. And that's one of the things I've had to learn too. I used to get readings because I wanted a firm timeline on when things were going to
Yeah.
happen or
Yeah.
to avoid making the quote unquote wrong decision. And that's not the purpose of readings. I'm sure you can elaborate on that more, but I think I always wanted it to be a confirmation of something or, okay, this is the person, right? Or this is the right decision, right? And I
Yeah.
think that was mostly my ego, looking for some sort of comfort. And I mean,
Mm.
that's not how it works, right?
It's not. It's so interesting. I mean, a couple things about that. Well, first of all, the readings, I've found a way of reading that is very accurate for validating what's going on, where we are. Every experience, though, the best kinds of readings first of all, are people who are not the conduit between you and yourself. Like you are the highest guru, you're the highest knowing. Every
Mhm.
reading should be an opportunity for you to understand yourself, your life path, your soul path, your life experience better so that you can navigate it better in order to get through, get to the highest expression, and potentially shift out of it more quickly. And
Mhm.
that's what I feel like I'm extremely good at doing for people. I'm good at helping them lift out of the story, understand the greater meaning, but it's not because I'm doing it for them. I'm communicating with their higher self. Their higher self is guiding them through the experience. That's the soul retrieval work that I do.
Mhm.
Once the soul retrieval is start coming back into one place, then they wake up from the experience. It's an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Mhm.
It's all through music and journeying and consciousness work, right? Their life changes within 3 to 10 days because I teach them tools like affirmations, anchors, things that they can witness, how to analyze their dreams to stay connected with me so that they see the wisdom, they see the magic, right? And then I do other readings where we look at people's soul path. This is what your soul is here to do. This is what you are experiencing in your outer life and how your outer self manifests. And that's a combination of sacred geometry, astrology, and sacred numerology. And
Mhm.
bringing those three together is a very powerful way. But again, it's for you to navigate the situation better, know exactly what you need to do in order to get to the higher frequencies so that you can start to manifest. And then I start working with people on here's how you create. Here's how you communicate with the subconscious in our work, but also when you go to sleep, so that everything that you're planting in the subconscious is helping to create what happens in the next day in your life, lift you into the higher life stream, bring you all the things that you want to bring in. And that's kind of an arc of a little bit of the work, because
Yeah.
it used to be that I felt like I was the awakener, where people would come in and they'd be like, oh my God, I just met with Jesus or the angels and they told me this. And then they were like, my life has changed. This is beautiful. I realize now with where we are in the evolution of the planet that my role is not to just awaken, it's to companion the awakening so that
Yeah.
people know here's what to do, here's how you do it, here's the power, you have the power, you know?
Right. Yeah,
Mhm.
amazing. So empowering them to
Yeah,
take action for their for
yeah,
their timeline.
yeah,
And so one of the I have 2 more questions that I wanna ask you, but one of
yeah,
them is I was even just a year ago or 6 months ago even, I was like, "I don't believe in any religion. I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe in any of that." And I've since my beliefs have shifted pretty
yeah,
quickly from hearing your story and, several other stories that were similar.
yeah.
And what would you have to say to people that are doubting? And I know our we don't ever believe on imposing our beliefs on others,
Mhm.
right?
No,
And so I'm just wondering how do you or what would you say to those individuals? Because especially somebody who wasn't really raised religious, this is
mhm.
completely new to them. What is something that you say or
I would
share?
say it's all love, right? It's
Mhm.
all love. It's accessible to everyone. It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be filtered through the lens of a religion. It can be.
Mhm.
But what I experienced was not that. This is accessible to everyone. It's in you. You are God, right?
Yeah.
Every religion has the same central theme that God is within us, that we are the like
Mhm.
God, that is true. And I would say whatever helps you to find your version of God, your ascended master self, your all-knowing self. And I know that, some people believe that they have to go through a gateway to get there, but Jesus's teachings were so powerful. The I am. The I am is that we are like, I am that I am. I am. So
Mhm.
it's this expression of the God self through the human that we are God acting in human form. We are spiritual beings in a human body. And I would say anyone who's skeptical, good, because people who ask questions actually are more informed. They're more connected to their God self. And there have been some, distortions of that God presence used to control and distort the human experience and for power. That obviously has happened, and that's part of the human experience. If you know, though, that God is in you, that you are God, and you find your way to connect to that in the highest good in love, well, then that's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And then my other question was too, for anybody who is struggling with even just I wanna say purpose, but it's deeper than that. I think for a lot of people when they struggle with purpose, there also is this lack of desire to wanna continue on and carry on. And what would you say to somebody that is in the depths of, we'll call it depression to put a label on it, but something along those lines where they're just struggling to find a reason to keep going? What would you
Yeah.
say to somebody like that?
I would say to start meditating. I would say there is a way out of this by really being conscious of thoughts. Obviously, if the depression is deep and you feel like you can't get out alone, there is help for people.
Mhm.
But on a spiritual level, I went to school for spiritual psychology. That is my master's. I have a master's in music therapy and I have a master's in transpersonal counseling psychology. And in the program, the way that we learned how to manage emotions was through becoming very present with what is. And that doesn't mean we're present with our thoughts. We are present with the breath. We use the breath to release thoughts and the practice
Mhm.
of releasing thoughts just through the out breath and being present, feeling your body in the present moment. Because in the present moment, we're not holding on to the story of the past or the future. We're not holding on to that anxiety. We just are in existence. And the power of that and replacing negative thoughts with positive thoughts would be a starting point for anyone.
Mhm.
Um, and it is our stories are like the biggest block to our freedom because we believe what we think. And
Yeah.
when you learn to meditate, you learn don't believe what you think. It's a thought. It's not real. It's not, right?
Yeah.
And so it's, I mean, I hate to say that, but once you realize that and you start to tap into the practice of releasing thoughts and being present, that's the cornerstone of getting out of a major stuckness that we can find. There's a book called Peace is Every Step. There's another book called Everyday Zen. These are, Thich Nhat Hanh, Pema Chodron are great philosophers. Is start where you are. There are just so many amazing books about the power of meditation where people can read and learn. Also, my book has some tips, on how to co-create, some basics on ways to free yourself from the story, to reflect in gratitude over the difficult times in your life, to become the teacher of your own experience. That would help too.
Awesome. And what is the title of your book?
It's called Waking Up in Heaven, Living with Purpose Through Afterlife Wisdom. It's pink and it's on Amazon.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, I wanted to give listeners the opportunity to find you too. So, can you share
Yeah.
how people can find you if they want to work with you or just hear more about your story?
Totally, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, first of all, I have a show on Spark TV Network, Spark Network. Was just started by Ozzy Osbourne's son, Jack Osbourne, this network. It's called Life After Life with Ellen. There are more stories of inspiration and wisdom that can help bring you out of that stuck energy. You can listen to those. The first episode is free. And I think it's $4.99 to watch the whole series, and they're 30-minute episodes. My book on Amazon, Waking Up in Heaven, Living with Purpose Through Afterlife Wisdom. I have a weekly download of light using my crystal bowls and binaural beats and downloads that I'm getting from the universe of hope and wisdom. Every week, it's different. That's on Substack, and my last name is spelled Wier, so Ellen Ware, Wier on Substack. I also publish articles about my own personal journey and how I'm getting through that, spiritual messages. And then my website is wellnessmusictherapy.com. You can follow me on social media, Wellness Music Therapy on IG. I do I do singing bowl, breathwork, and music workshops at my home here in Carlsbad, California, which is North County, San Diego. And I also do online private sessions too for people who want that, like soul retrieval session. They're 2 hours long. I also do readings for 1 hour online or in person. And I just love it. I love my work and it's awesome. So check it out. It's so much fun for me. I love meeting new people.
Amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. And I'm so excited that we met. I
I
know that
know.
it's no coincidence that you meet people in the right times. And I'm so like, I get super, I
I
don't know,
know.
ecstatic. I'm like, oh my gosh. So
So
thank
fun.
you again for sharing your story. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course.